Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Right here in the live studios in ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Ashram, Govardhan. We're just across the street, the Parikrama Mart, from Govardhan Hill. And the atmosphere here is second to none. The ether here is so rarefied and so blissful that hearing and chanting become effortless, to say the least. We just tried to do a recording, and we were having trouble with the video, with the hotspot. Bhagavata Mahima Stotram of Sanatana Goswami, one of the most intimate disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who wrote a very simple book called Sri Krishna Lila Stava, glorifying the 10th canto, Vrindavan Lila pastimes of Krishna. His idea was to offer 108 obeisances to Krishna's Lila pastime, Raja Lila pastimes. So this 5-verse stotram is called Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram. It's the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and it is the 107th obeisance offered by Sanatana Goswami to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it goes like this. By hearing this very carefully and deeply every day before you read the Srimad-Bhagavatam, it helps you to enter into the Srimad-Bhagavatam deeper, which is exactly what all of us need. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths. You are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Duditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya. Atinit Shochata Kada Hanamuncha Gadachin Mam Prem Narit Kandayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. This is my evidence how the Goswamis want us to read out loud their books. Hrit Kantiya Spruda. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. If you read Srila Prabhupada's books out loud to yourself, even when you're doing your own private reading, the sound of Srila Prabhupada's purports and translations coming from your own mouth into your own ear is magical, mystical. It will keep you awake, it will open your heart, and you will be able to hear on a deeper level, guaranteed. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 31. Songs, the Gopis' songs of separation. This chapter relates how the Gopis, overwhelmed by feelings of separation from Krishna, sat down on the bank of the Yamuna and began praying for his audience and singing his glories. Because the Gopis had dedicated their minds and very lives to Krishna, they were beside themselves with the transcendental pain of separation. But their crying, which appears like evidence of misery, actually shows their exalted state of transcendental bliss. As it is said, Yatadeka Vishnaver Vyavahara Dukkha Nishchaya Jani Hase Paramananda Sukh. Whenever one sees a Vaishnava put the dry ice on your skin, it feels hot, like it's burning. And when you take it off, it leaves a burn. The ice is actually cold, but it feels hot. In the same way, when the residents of Vrindavan, particularly the Gopis, who experience the most intense form of separation, look like they're crying in misery, they're actually experiencing the topmost transcendental pleasure in ecstasy. A little difficult to digest in our present state of existence. But by hearing this with faith and with love and without argument, you can taste something that you've never tasted before. Thus, each of the Gopis began addressing Lord Sri Krishna according to her individual mode of ecstasy, and they all prayed to him for his mercy. As the pastimes of Krishna spontaneously arose in the minds of the Gopis, they sang their song, which relieves the agony of those suffering from the burning pain of separation from Krishna, and which bestows supreme auspiciousness. They sang, "O Lord, O lover, O cheater, when we remember your smile, your loving glances, and your pastimes with your boyhood friends, we become extremely agitated. Remembering your lotus face, adorned with locks of blackish hair smeared with the dust of the cows, we become irrevocably attached to you. And when we remember how you followed the cows from forest to forest with your tender feet, we feel great pain in their separation from Krishna. The Gopis considered a single moment, In their separation from Krishna, the gopis considered a single moment an entire age. Even when they had previously seen him, they had found the blinking of their eyelids intolerable, for it blocked their vision of him for a fraction of a second. The ecstatic sentiments for Krishna that the gopis manifested, expressed, may appear like symptoms of lust, but in reality, they are manifestations of their pure desire to satisfy the Supreme Lord's spiritual senses. There is not even the slightest trace of lust in these moods of the gopis. Text 1. The gopis said, O beloved, your birth in the land of Braja has made it exceedingly glorious, and thus Indira, the goddess of fortune, always resides here. It is only for your sake that we, your devoted servants, maintain our lives. We have been searching everywhere for you, so please show yourself to us. Purport. Those who are familiar with the art of chanting Sanskrit verses will be able to appreciate the especially exquisite Sanskrit poetry of this chapter. Specifically, the poetic meter of the verses is extraordinarily beautiful. And also, for the most part, in each line, the first and seventh syllables begin with the same consonant, as do the second syllables of all four lines. Text 2. O Lord of love, in beauty, your glance excels the whorl of the finest, most perfectly formed lotus within the autumn pond. O bestower of benedictions, you are killing the maidservants who have given themselves to you freely, without any price. Isn't this murder? Purport. In the autumn season, the whorl of the lotus, as it from poisoned water, from the terrible man-eater Aga, from the great rains, from the wind demon, from the fiery thunderbolt of Indra, from the bull demon, and from the son of Mayadanava. Purport. Here the gopis imply, O Krishna, you saved us from so many terrible dangers, so now that we are dying of separation from you, you won't save us again? Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur explains that the gopis mention Arishta and Vyoma because, although Krishna had not yet killed these demons, the fact that he would kill them in the future was well known, having been predicted by the sages Garga and Bhaguri at the time of the Lord's birth. Text 4. You are not actually the son of the Gopi Yashoda, O friend, but rather the indwelling you have now appeared in the Satvata dynasty. Purport. The gopis here imply, since you have descended to protect the entire universe, how can you neglect your own devotees? Krishna likes this. When we, come on, you came here to deliver everybody, what about me? He likes this. He likes this better than the prayers of the Vedas. 5. O best of the Rishis, as your maidservants, and show us your beautiful lotus face. Your lotus feet destroy the past sins of all embodied souls who surrender to them. Those feet follow after the cows in the pastures and are the eternal abode of the goddess of fortune. Since you once put those feet on the hoods of the great serpent, Kaliya, please place them upon our breasts and voice and charming words which attract the minds of the intelligent are bewildering us more and more. Our dear hero, please revive your maidservants with the nectar of your lips. Text 9. The nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. These narrations, transmitted by learned sages, eradicate one's sinful reactions and eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly those who spread the message of Godhead are most munificent. All glories to Srila Prabhupada's book distribution. Purport. King Prataparudra the intimate pastimes and confidential talks we enjoyed with you, all these are auspicious to meditate upon, and they touch our hearts. But at the same time, O deceiver, they very much agitate our minds. Text 11. Dear Master, dear lover, when you leave the cowherd village to herd the cows, our minds are disturbed with the thought that your feet, more beautiful than a lotus, will be pricked by the spiked husks of grain and the rough grass and plants. 12. At the end of the day, you repeatedly show us your lotus face, covered with dark blue locks of hair and thickly powdered with dust. Thus, O hero, you arouse lusty desires in our minds. 13. Your lotus feet, which are worshipped by Lord Brahma, fulfill the desires of all those who bow down to them. Again, your lotus feet, which are worshipped by Lord Brahma, fulfill the desires of all who bow down to them. They are the ornament of the earth. They give the highest satisfaction. And in times of danger, they are the appropriate object of meditation. O lover, O destroyer of anxiety, please place those lotus feet upon our breasts. Text 14. O hero, kindly distribute to us the nectar of your lips, which enchants conjugal pleasure and vanquishes grief. That nectar is thoroughly relished by without our paying a substantial price. Since you are a great hero in giving charity, you should give it without any payment, even to the most wretched persons. Consider that we are losing our life, and that now you can restore us to life by giving us that nectar. After all, you have already given it to your flute, which is simply a hollow bamboo stick. Krishna says, but the diet of people in this world is the bad one of attachment to wealth, family, followers, and so forth. The particular medicine you've requested should not be given to those who have such a bad diet. But this medicine makes one forget all other attachments. So wonderful is this herbal drug that it counteracts bad dietary habits. Please give that nectar to us, O hero, since you are the most charitable. Once, early on in book distribution days, Ramaswar was putting out these fantastic newsletters, and in one of them he likened the going out and preaching, meeting people, giving out books, and doing this to this giving of the mercy of Krishna in that Torah is given about the similarities between distributing Krishna consciousness in this world and what the Gopis are saying to Krishna is correct. Yes. So although it may not be in the same level, and we shouldn't try to imitate these things, the fact that here the gopis are telling Krishna, you know, this nectar of your association, basically, is the only medicine that can cure the disease of material existence. So even when Krishna came, he didn't give it freely. But when Lord Chaitanya came, the medicine to cure all material distress. Takes 15. When you go off to the forest during the day, a tiny fraction of a second becomes like a millennium for us because we cannot see you. And even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely with its adornment of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by our eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish Creator. Text 16. Dear Achyuta, we know very well why we have come here. But who but a cheater like you would abandon young women who come to see him in the middle of the night, enchanted by the loud sound of his flute? Just to see you, we have completely rejected our husbands, children, ancestors, brothers, and other relatives. 17. Thank you. Our minds are repeatedly bewildered as we think of the intimate conversations we had with you in secret. Feel the rise of lust in our hearts and remember your smiling face, your loving glances, and your broad chest, the resting place of the goddess of fortune. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. Purport. The translation of this verse is from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 4, 173. Thus end the purports. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Jai. Lord Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Hari Hari Bo. You know, we clap like this. We started to do this, you know, during our yearly Govardhan Rat, or Kartik Rat. And here, there's a chair right here. Okay. And when I started to do it kind of in imitation, on our daily reading, because we do this every day, every single day, and wherever I am. And I just happen to be on this part of the Bhagavatam here, which is kind of nectarian, to be able to read these verses in this atmosphere with these devotees here. I'm very sorry that Vaisheshika Prabhu isn't here, but anyway. And when we started to do that, at first everyone was kind of, what's going on here, you know? And then I realized, you know, that the Bhagavatam is like the history of the universe, in the most dramatic events that happen in the whole history of the universe. And that each one of these chapters is like an act in that drama of the history of the universe. So therefore we started to increase the intensity, and now it's like, it just happens. Hare Krishna. At seeing him, grasped his hands. Others placed his arm on their shoulders, and others accepted the remnants of betel nut he had chewed. Thus they served him. One gopi, impelled by loving anger toward Krishna, bit her lip and looked askance at him. Because the gopis were so attached to Krishna, they were not satiated even by continuously gazing at him. One of them then placed Krishna within her heart, closed her eyes, and embracing him within herself, again and again, became absorbed in transcendental bliss, just like a yogi. In this way, the at once, and out of their affection for him, their eyes bloomed wide. It was as if the air of life had re-entered their bodies. 4. One gopi joyfully took Krishna's hand between her folded palms, and another placed his arm, anointed with sandalwood paste, on her shoulder. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the analogy given here of saintly persons meditating upon the Lord's feet is only partially applicable, since the ecstasy the gopis felt when Krishna came back was actually unparalleled. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also reveals that this particular gopi is the most fortunate of all, Srimati Radharani. Text 8. One gopi took the Lord through the aperture of her eyes and placed him within her heart. Then, with her eyes closed and her bodily hair standing on end, she continuously embraced him within. Thus, immersed in transcendental ecstasy, she resembled a yogi meditating upon the Lord. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states that the 7 gopis mentioned Shyamala, Shaibya, Padma, Sri Radha, Lalita, and Vishaka. The 8th is understood to be Bhadra. Sri Vaishnava Toshini, by the Sri Vaishnava Toshini, is the commentary by Sanatana Goswami on the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Sri Vaishnava Toshini itself quotes a verse from the Skanda Purana that declares these 8 gopis to be the principal among 3 billion gopis. And those are the only ones who came to the earth with him. This translation is Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 4:83. Additional information about Sri Radha is given in the Rig Parishishta, the supplement to the Rig Veda. Radhaya Madhavo Devo Madhavenaiva Radhika Brajan Jantijaneshu. Among all persons, it is Sri Radha in whose company Lord Madhava is especially glorious, as she is especially about over 90%, about 94%, I think. I heard from Gopi Puranadana Prabhu that it's around 94 to 95% karma khandya. And the Upanishads are just, a little more than that, which leaves for upasana just a little tiny bit, like 1%. And of that, the verses that discuss Radha directly are very few, and this is one of them. That's the reason why you can't get Krishna consciousness, Braj Bhakti, from reading the Vedas, unless you're extremely pure and extremely It is Sri Radha in whose company Lord Madhava is especially glorious, as she is especially glorious in his. Text 9. All the gopis enjoyed the greatest festivity when they saw their beloved Keshava again. They gave up the distress of separation, just as people in general forget their misery when they gain the association of a spiritually enlightened person. Text 10. Encircled by the gopis, who were now relieved of all distress, Lord Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, shone forth splendidly. My dear King, Krishna thus appeared like the Supersoul, encircled by his spiritual potencies. Purport. The gopis are Lord Krishna's internal potency. Inconceivable to those bound in material existence. Text 12, 11 and 12. The Almighty Lord then took the gopis with him to the bank of the Kalindi, who with the hands of her waves had scattered piles of soft sand upon the shore. In that auspicious place, the breeze, bearing the fragrance of blooming kunda and mandara flowers, attracted many bees, and the abundant rays of the autumn moon dispelled the darkness of night. 13. Their heartache vanquished by the ecstasy of seeing Krishna, the Gopis, like the personified Vedas before them, felt their desires completely fulfilled. For their dear friend Krishna they had arranged a seat with their shawls, which were smeared with kumkum powder from their breasts. Purport. In the 87th chapter of this canto, text 23, the Shrutis, or personified Vedas, pray as follows. Striya uragendra bogabuji danda vishakta diyo vayam api sesama samadrishongri sadoja sudha. These women fully absorbed their minds in meditation. This information is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Text 14. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whom the great masters of mystic meditation arrange a seat within their hearts, took his seat in the assembly of Gopis. His transcendental body, the exclusive abode of beauty and opulence within the three worlds, shone brilliantly as the Gopis worshipped him. Purport. The masters of mystic meditation, including Lord Shiva, Ananta Shesha, and other exalted personalities, (16). The Gopis said, some people reciprocate the affection only of those who are affectionate toward them, while others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical, and yet others will not show affection toward anyone. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter to us. Purport. By this apparently polite question, the Gopis want to expose Lord Krishna's failure to properly reciprocate with their love. They were very disturbed when friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually selfish. They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. Purport. The Lord here reminds the gopis that in pure loving friendship there is no sense of selfish interest, but rather some people, being spiritually self-satisfied, do not reciprocate others' affection because they want to avoid entanglement in mundane dealings. Other persons do not reciprocate simply out of envy or arrogance. And still others fail to reciprocate because they are materially satisfied and thus uninterested in new material opportunities. Lord Krishna patiently explains all these things to the gopis. But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. Purport. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatamam prapadyante tang tataiva bhajamyaham. As people approach me, I reciprocate with them accordingly. Yet even if the Lord is approached by someone with devotion, to intensify the devotee's love, the Lord may not immediately reciprocate fully. In fact, the Lord is truly reciprocating. After all, a sincere devotee always prays to the Lord, please help me to love you purely. Therefore, the Lord's so-called neglect is actually the fulfillment of the devotee's prayer. Lord Krishna intensifies our love for Him by apparently separating Himself from us. And the result is that we achieve what we really wanted and prayed for. Intense love for the Absolute Truth, Krishna. According to the Acharyas, as Lord Krishna began to speak this verse, the gopis looked at one another with squinting eyes, trying to hide the smiles breaking out on their faces. Even as Lord Krishna was speaking, the gopis had begun to realize that he was bringing them to the highest perfection of loving service. 21. My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion, of the Vedas, and of your relatives. I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved Gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings towards me, your beloved. Purport. Here, the Lord indicates that though the Gopis were already perfect in their love for Him, still, to inconceivably increase their perfection, maybe Krishna is just trying to make it go a little slower, so it sinks in better. Let's see. Maybe. I'm going to read that verse again. Don't mind. That was far out. Never had that happen before. My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion, of the Vedas, and of your relatives, I acted as I did to inconceivably increase their perfection and show an example for the world. He acted as he did. I want to make one comment here, if you don't mind. There's a purport in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami in which he criticizes the impersonalist conclusion of the Absolute Truth because they think that you go for perfection, you go for perfection, you go for perfection, and then you within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma.
I was just thinking about how in the beginning of the reading there was that point made about the glance of Krishna surpasses the beauty of a blossoming lotus. And I was just thinking about Bhaktisiddhanta's point about the seer and the seen, and how much emphasis is put on receiving the
States that if a person is fortunate enough to have an actual liberated soul enter the pathway of his eyes, that person becomes worshipable. And this is the way the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading. Lord Chaitanya came, and he was Krishna himself, in the mood of Radharani, what to speak, acting as a perfect devotee. So anyone who saw his form into their path, through his eyes, or heard, his voice, they immediately became fully self-realized, not more than fully full love for God to manifest. Tears were coming from their eyes, they were trembling, they were changing color. us, and Prabhupada was what, number 11, and we're number 12, and the next generation's number 13. And that's how come the movement spreading. Because of the glance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what was it he said in Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's been a long time since I've gone and just given it freely. I don't know about you, but it seems to me that that's why we're all sitting here from all over the world with all different backgrounds and levels of qualification or disqualification, and yet here we are. Amazing. Amazing. Yes, Yarobar, our dear one. Please. We've been trying to get him.
We just came from Russia, a 7-city tour. We showed the Hare Krishna movie in all those cities.
Could you turn that down just a little bit? Because he's got very soft voice. Yeah.
We showed the Hare Krishna movies in those 7 cities in Russia. We were seeing similar things.
Oh, yeah.
Devotees crying, devotees by witnessing Prabhupada. There's a wonderful quote by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that just by seeing a Vaishnava,
Yes.
one's auspicious life has begun.
Yes.
So in our presentation of the movie, we're seeing that time and time again.
Yes.
Therefore, I don't think I can give up this service.
When it was something else. That's what I saw. I don't know if anybody else saw.
And guess what?
What?
I was on the plane with Prabhupada when I arrived. I was looking past Prabhupada's head at the devotees. All I could see was like faces staring. I mean, not a few faces.
Everybody.
Everybody.
I was on the other side. Confirmed, thank you very much. I always thought I was a little bit exaggerating out of whatever, love. But it was true. The whole place just stopped for an instant. And Prabhupada shone. It was like, it was unbelievable. Yeah.
I just saw this circle filled with faces.
Yeah. How wonderful is that? Gopi Bhartu Palakamali Dasana 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 Das. So devotees who want to get closer and closer and closer to Radharani, you know, and sometimes they even leave our movement and run to Radhakund. I've been staying here for 25 years and I've seen it all. All kinds of people kind of run over there, and then they get some Rasi Guru or something, and they think, now we've got the highest thing, and they look back down in ISKCON and say, you guys are, the movement that actually gave them, they wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't for the devotees that trained them and gave them Krishna consciousness. So there's a, you know, when we hear these verses, and we hear, even later on, we'll hear even more explicit verses on this point, that Radharani is the topmost devotee, obviously. And how does she feel towards others? She feels like everyone else is better than her. In fact, she thinks that and criticizing. How is it possible that they could be going towards Radha Bhakti, Gopi Bhakti? It's not possible. Not possible. Therefore, if we hear these things through the consciousness of Lord Chaitanya only, through Lord Chaitanya's sincere followers, and in our case, in Prabhupada's line, can we understand these things? Or touch them, even. Thank you so much, Yadavar Prabhu. I'm so happy that you're here, and looking forward to you staying for a month, and being with us when we do, as we do this every day, not just for a couple hours. We're going to do it today for a couple. Of the persons who are staying in the room with you. So I think the best thing for us to do is just, anyway, I don't want to do the organizationals at a time like this. We'll wait until we're finished. But yeah, that was nectar, pure nectar. And the way we both were there, and both we saw it from one side and you saw it from the other, that was too much. That was fantastic.
The airport will never see another scene like that again.
No. Hare Krishna. Do we have anything from the cyberspace? Okay, Rati. How did we do that time when it came to the